So today's program is called Linking Leaders. And we set this program up so you can hear from different leaders in our community about what drives them, what their vision is for their organization, and what some of their best practices are. So what I'm going to do is have these folks introduce themselves, tell you a little bit about what they do for their organizations, and then I'll kind of jump into some of the questions. So we'll start with you. Just tell us who you are, what you do for your organization, and then I'll come back and ask you a few questions, okay?
Yeah, I'm Cheryl Primo. I'm with Textron Specialized Vehicles. You probably know us better as E-Z-GO Golf Cars. So we've had a lot of expansion here in the past few years, so we kind of changed our name to be a little more consistent with that, and I run the IT organization for that company.
I'm Dennis Trotter, Jordan Trotter Commercial Real Estate. You see our brown and yellow signs scattered all around town, and happy to be here and happy to be a new member of the chamber.
So I'm Virgil Norrie. I work with the Bridgestone Aiken passenger tire plant just down the road, and I'm the new plant manager, but I've been with Bridgestone for 20 years, so I'm glad to be here.
You can hold on to that. I can start with
Ladies first.
first.
I'm from Nashville. I'm still a Southern gentleman.
So tell us, what drives you? What motivates you?
So getting to work in a manufacturing environment, it's almost like a small village, right? So every plant has its own culture. So one of the things that I really enjoy doing is trying to drive that culture and be part of that new community. I've really been fortunate in both roles that I've had in the facility in Tennessee and here to be able to make real changes in people's lives. Think about how much time you spend at work and that environment, how much it influences who people are. We spend more time with the people we work with when we do our families most of the time. So I really get to enjoy seeing people grow, develop, and improve their career, but also be a good citizen in that small community that we have. So I've been very fortunate to work with great people, and that's really what drives me.
Dennis?
We probably have two things in our office that are common. For us, we make our most effectiveness and our most money when we pride ourselves in having to know more than most everybody else out there about the future growth of the area with utilities, roads, schools, new retail, planned new retail, discussing, tenants and users that are in talks about coming to the market, and we have to be out 1 or 2 or 3 steps ahead of them at all times to be in the position to be able to bring those projects in and know that if it's a 2-year project to bring retailer X here, they're not looking at what's going on so much today as it is what is it going to look like 2 years from now. And in our market, that's a fast changing equation with the growth of these industries obviously sitting next to me, but also obviously cyber, medical, Army, all the other wonderful things we've got going on. So it is a full-time job to stay out in front of all that information because it is changing weekly, it seems like. I sort of hold my breath every time I crack the paper every morning to see what the headline's going to be about somebody else that's coming to town, or new jobs expected, new growth for the region, we're the new cyber hub for the Southeast, all those things. So that drives us as being, we have to be out on the forefront of all the information to be able to capitalize on it for our work and our clients. And secondly, I have a wife with very expensive taste, and I don't have any choice but to show up and figure out a way to produce every day. So those are our 2 driving factors.
So at E-Z-GO, we had a very unique challenge that the golf market shrinks every year. There are fewer golf courses in the world every year. And so we found ourselves in a situation where if we wanted to grow our business, we had to do new things, and we had to find other markets and other opportunities. So we've been in a very big expansion push for the past a half dozen years or so. I came here about 4 years ago from our parent company, right after we had done a big systems implementation, all kinds of carnage, business that had not really invested a lot in how they interfaced with their customers, but now trying to get into markets that customers very much expected that. So I kind of came here really wanting to help kind of be the solution for how we kind of went to market, and how we interface with our customers, and how we then grew the business. So we've been on a big push it has been nonstop. We've been acquiring companies, pushing into new markets, and kind of getting out in front of the business and working across the entire business, all the new businesses, and kind of giving them those tools has been a big driver for me. We've been continuing to expand our employment. So it's been a constant thing. It's never stopping. I'm continuing to learn new things. We're getting into some other markets and businesses that we weren't in before. So I just enjoy kind of getting in there and then bringing the team up. The team was very broken when I got here. So kind of bringing folks together and growing the team and kind of bringing together people across all of the acquisitions into the fold and working as one team has been a very rewarding thing to do as part of this business. Not something that I expected when I got here. When I got here, it was just Augusta. Now I have 8 different locations with team members that I've had to bring together. So it's been a very rewarding and fulfilling position that I didn't expect. Yeah.
What would you say are your best practices? Some folks have, whether it be in customer relations, employee relations, or just in personal improvement for yourself. What would be best practices that you would be able to share and pass on to folks in this room to help them better engage with their organizations or just personally?
I think one of the biggest things that I had to bring into our group, as I said, we had just put a new system in, and so there were a million things to do, not enough time to do them. With the acquisitions, there's always a certain element of craziness. And focus on the priorities has been one of the biggest things that has really saved us and allows us to get things completed. If you're trying to do 20 things, you're never going to get any of them done. If you're doing 5 things and you focus on those and you kill them and then move on, you're probably going to accomplish a whole lot more. That has been very critical for us. I probably spend most of my time on people things, recruiting people, training people, moving people around, things like that. But the thing that has really helped us in terms of instilling into the culture is that focus on the priorities. And because we very much struggled with completing anything when I first arrived.
I would sort of build on what she's saying. For us, 8 to 6 are really mainly 9 to 5. Phones are ringing, emails are flying, people need things returned to them. Do this for me, can you get this back? Need this decision made. It's no different from what every one of y'all goes through. So we try to make it a practice as best we can. So, from 10 to 4 during most days, that's when we are our most accessible. Emails, phone calls, person-to-person meetings, business development, lunches, breakfasts, all those things. We're out in the community and sort of block off the early morning time and the late afternoon time for office time of anything that requires, drafting, reading, writing contracts, leases, presentations, things that require total focus. That doing it while you have your email open and have your cell phone on becomes a total disaster. And you go home at 6 o'clock at night with a fraction of it completed that you should have completed that day. So it's really about time management as much as anything else. Virgil has the inventory of tires. They have the inventory of golf carts. We have the inventory of time, and time is what dictates. If we're not spending our time wisely, then we don't make any money. So it's all about time management and knowing where to spend it. So no different than everybody else sitting out there.
So best practice. Through my experience, what I found is I'm kind of an introvert, and I really have grown up on the operational side of the business. I spent a lot of time talking about machine efficiencies and cycle times and capital improvements, and it's really easy to get tied up for me over my career with thinking about machines and then thinking about people like numbers and machines, because really when you get down to it, business is time is money, exactly what he was talking about. And the thing that I've had to evolve into is being an introvert, is starting to remember that people are trustworthy and that they want to do the right thing. And when you're interacting with them, the best return on my investment that I've gotten over time is treating people like people, taking time to have a discussion with them that's not about what their productivity is at the moment or what the problem is on the equipment or in the process, but just take a second to stop and talk to them about their personal life and find out a little bit about them and build those relationships. So I'd say the best practice I've learned and utilize more now than ever is that the relationships create the productivity, not the other way around. So that would be the thing that I've learned and use the most now.
So if we could take something away today, what would you want us to know about your organization that we may not know, or that you want us to always keep in mind about your organizations?
So for Bridgestone, especially here locally, we take very seriously our economic impact to the community relations, the things that we do to impact the community besides just making tires. So we take the fact that we have 1,500 people employed at the plant, almost 2,000 total between the two plants, very seriously. We really think about what that impact is over not just today, but the generations coming. So we know that we're not going to be just the workforce of today. We've got to be able to employ and take care of generations of people. We've probably got 3 generations working in my plant right now. We've got the grandfather, the son, and the granddaughter working at the plant. So we take that very seriously. We also take the community service very seriously. We really believe that we're a servant company for the environment and the community that we work in. And sometimes we don't always communicate that really broadly, but we do spend a lot of time doing that. We take that very seriously.
I would say we started our company on about 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, and when we started, our direct competitors in the market had been in the market for between 40 and 80 years already. So it was some long established names that we had to go up against. So it only was going to happen with, continue to happen with a lot of hustle and hard work. We feel like we're at our best when we're helping multi-location operators with a market expansion plan, and we love obviously repeat business like everybody else does, but that doesn't happen if the first transaction, the first project or two doesn't go very, very well, and it has to be done that way. And frankly, a lot of times we encourage clients to walk away from projects as many times as we do it, to proceed with it if the deal conditions are off or wrong and it's not the right move, or we feel like it's the wrong place, and they do too, and it's going to stain the whole market for them. So it's it's imperative for us to take the long view as it comes to client relations, and not just what is it going to take to get a fee out of this deal or get it closed, but what is it going to take to establish the 10 and 15 and 20 year relationship with them.
Yeah, I think echoing the first comments, E-Z-GO is a long-standing member of the community. E-Z-GO is golf, Augusta is golf, and we were faced recently with some decisions. We were out of space, and as we work with folks helping us look at where we might be able to expand and things like that, you have to from a business perspective look at all options. And it was very difficult to even consider something outside the Augusta area. So we were fortunate that we were able to buy the Procter & Gamble building right down the street. So we've been able to continue to expand. And then we faced the issue that it was becoming very difficult to find production line folks. Folks that had just even high school diplomas. Could pass background checks, things like that. The Richmond County only has about a 65% high school graduation rate. So now we've partnered with the school system to actually give high school students the opportunity to do work and high school at the same time. Many of them left high school because they needed to make money for the family. And so we've given them the opportunity to both finish school and earn wages, and many of them are now coming back and working with us in the plant. So we graduated, I think 25 folks. And I don't know if folks have heard about this on the news. It's been on the news several times. So we're very much part of the community. And RPM always chokes us all up. So to watch all these folks, if you've been there, you'll see them. They're in constant motion. These kids are loving actually being able to work. They have the opportunity to finish school, have jobs. So having that linkage with the community has been a big deal for us. And having the opportunity to stay here, grow the business, and we continue to add production lines, add staff, so it's been very rewarding for us as a business also.
I'm going to do a kind of a reverse question, and I hate to put you on the spot, but is there anything you would want to ask the audience that might help your industry? Any questions? Just kind of think about that. Anything that you may want to ask the audience as far as any feedback for your business that might help you. So while you're thinking about that, do we have any questions from the audience? We'll take a few questions.
I wonder if we've got a minute to find out how you got where you are. What was a key pivot in your growth that brought you to the positions you're in?
I think, especially in a large business, if you want to continue to grow, you have to really be willing to kind of put yourself out there. And I suppose that's the case for some small businesses. If you're going to try and do business development and get out there and support your business, you really have to be able to put yourself out there. I think there's always this belief that to get promoted, somebody's going to come to you and ask you to take this job. And no, all of the true promotions that I've gotten, I've pursued them, right? The person that was then promoting me, had to know that I wanted that job. And for this particular job, which was actually a large jump when I moved here from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I waged an all-out campaign. I called our president. The people that I knew, I sent them messages, let them know that I was interested in the role. I came to the interviews prepared. I mean, I checked every box that you could possibly think of, and you really just have to put yourself out there to be able to kind of move up when you're in a big business, or if you're in smaller businesses. If you want to expand your business, you've got to put yourself out there. It's not just going to come to you.
I got in our industry in about 16 years ago, and real estate's in our family's blood. We used to have a company in town called Trotter Realty. Some of y'all might remember in the room from years ago, and I was no good and not interested at all in any residential real estate at all, but really enjoyed. My education was all in numbers and background and finance, and all our transactions are numbers, and there's not very rarely any emotion involved. So it's either the numbers work or the numbers don't, and it's our job to help get them all lined up. So it's been it's long, slow growth, but felt like about 5 years ago I needed to change the scenery and change pace, and ready to step on my own and make a new name in the market for commercial real estate. So that was the genesis of it.
So for me, I come from a very small rural county and city in Tennessee. So there's more people working in my plant than was in my hometown. I graduated with 60 people in my high school class. And just like most young people, my whole goal was just to get a job and start making some money. College was not important at that time. It was girlfriend and work, right? So in my evolution, I finally got on in Bridgestone, best job I'd ever had, and started out as a tire builder. So I was an operator before. That's how I started with the company. And hard work will get you to a certain place, but the pivot comes when I had to swallow a little bit of pride as far as the college degree goes, and decide that I was going to have to be an adult learner and go back to school. And I had recognized that I made it so much more difficult on myself, and that if I'd have just followed my mother and father's advice and went after high school, it would have been so much easier. But I was able to promote from the floor up through the ranks to a certain point, and then I had to recognize that sweat equity wasn't going to be what got me to the next level. So I ended up having to go make the decision to work full-time at a role that it was very challenging and go back to school, and that was really the pivot for me. I was always going to be able to outwork the guy next to me to get the promotion. I was just not always going to be able to meet that criteria if I didn't, and corporate culture requires that degree. So I would obviously, I've probably helped 20 people that were in the same position I was, that had huge potential, but just weren't willing or scared to take that next step to get that college degree. Adult learning is hard because you think it's insurmountable. And so that's very important to me. I take that very passionately at work to get people to get their degrees.
Yes, sir.
So I sense a tremendous amount of passion and energy from the panel, just in terms of wanting to help and impact the community. Anytime I see that, usually there's a why behind that. That why drives the vision. And I'm always curious to see what other leaders, what their why is. And most times I find that it's not tied to a monetary figure at all. There's something deeper than that. So I'm curious, can you share, what your why is, how that is motivating you to, live out your vision and be a leader and put yourself out there?
Well, for me, it's just like what I just talked about. It's personal with me to know that someone has all this potential as a young person and it just needs a mentor or a guide. So that's not work related, and I do that with people outside of my industry. I don't just work with people that I employ. So I take that on outside of my employment as well. So encouraging and mentoring young people and how they make their decisions, because when they're really young, they don't really listen to anyone. There is a point when they get into a certain age where they will listen if you talk to them like adults and you treat them like adults and equals, and that's really what I get more into.
The why for us would probably be, we're like everybody else in here, we're in business to make money, and when we're making money, it means our projects in town, our transactions are successful and stick. But those businesses that we are bringing in or relocating or expanding or adding locations for, they're in business to make money off the community. And it takes the community to make that happen. So in a roundabout way, we make money off the community, and we feel it's an obligation for us to return some of that time, money, and energy back to the community as well, in a cyclical fashion. So we invest a lot of time and money in, we donated a substantial portion of money out last year to over 30 different charities, campaigns. We sponsor everybody's golf tournament, baseball teams, member of...
We have a lip sync battle coming up.
Yeah. So we feel it's incumbent upon us to help prop up the various, we have so many great community organizations around town, and we feel we have a community obligation to participate and support them at various levels throughout the year, because our business model is set up to, we need a thriving population, a thriving community in the Augusta MSA to keep the growth and expansion going. So that'd be the why for us.
I think there's always a kind of a symbiotic relationship there. We are the community, and I think there's always a drive to leave things a little better than how you found them. I mean, it's part of the legacy that you leave. There's nothing that kind of motivates me more than when I find one of those people that I look at and say, I could be working for that person someday. They could leapfrog me. I'm getting old enough that may not happen in my working life, but that's exciting to find people that are that next generation and be able to kind of nurture that and grow that. That's what you leave behind. So I think that very much drives me.
Well, If we could give our group a round of applause. Thank you all for being here. So, any questions about any of our events?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Do we still have time to hear from what they want from us?
Oh, anybody come up with anything? Anybody?
So we're handling the retail and restaurants down at the ballpark. What uses would y'all like to see down at the ballpark in terms of retail and restaurants?
Speak now or forever hold your peace.
Right.
Restaurants that aren't chain restaurants,
Okay.
local stuff.
Chicken salad chick. Healthy food options, salad bar, something healthy.
Got it.
Yeah, especially good ladies shoe store.
Shoe store.
Greek or Mediterranean restaurant.
More cultural.
Got
Yeah,
it.
more cultural.
All right, so y'all are off to a good start. It's key for us, the tenant mix down there is as important as anything else. We're working on tenants that'll leverage the Greenway with some athletic shoe stores, athletic clothing stores, leverage the riverfront with some outdoor stores, fishing, hiking, things like that. They can do some product demos in the river. It's got some wonderful opportunity to work close on with a couple of restaurants that will have, rooftop features to them, overlooking the river, things like that are sort of detached from the ballpark that will be more destination oriented, that will make you want to drive down there, hang out, and spend some money. So it's your typical. We're like y'all, and developers are too. We're going to fill it up with. Don't have intention of filling it up with subways and nail salons. It's not the right mix and fit, and we don't foresee any risk of that happening.
How about Textron? What would you like us to do for you?
The Project Jackson thing is one thing that very much intrigues us in terms of really kind of invigorating the area. Coming from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, we're used to a lot of restaurants, and and when I say restaurants, I'm not talking about the chain places or fast food or anything like that. I'm talking about local places, local talent, and having a kind of a good variety. So Project Jackson is very intriguing for us in terms of being able to attract talent here, right? It makes this really a much more robust area from a cultural standpoint. So we're very intrigued by Project Jackson and what it can do for the area and making it more attractive to bringing talent here.
What do the Japanese like about us?
Well, South Carolina works very hard to attract their employers. So there's a lot of special things about South Carolina, their position on unions and other things that help that industry want to come here. Obviously, almost all of the tire industry now has moved from up north down here, and this is Akron South because of all the tire manufacturers. And I just heard an announcement there's another group coming, which leads to the next thing. One of the reasons we have 2 plants here was because of the workforce that was available and skill level that we had experienced with that workforce. So if we were going to give an ask for any support, it has to be around workforce development, the continued initiatives that the community has and all of the other manufacturers and businesses in the community. Where we're having to spend a lot of time right now is with the younger introductory workforce coming to the plant and understanding what work is when you get there, what being on a set schedule is when you get there, and what you have to be self-driven and come up with a result without somebody having to prod you to do that. So really all the workforce development initiatives, the Akron or the Aiken Technical Center, those things are the things that we need help supporting, because what's going to happen is we're going to run out of people that want to come to work and work in a factory, and that's how you attract those jobs. So we need to really continue that. entry-level workforce development that you guys are already helping us with.
All right. Got a door prize here from SRP Credit Union, and I'm gonna let you pull.
Greg Dietz.
Greg. All right. And we also have here the green bag. And this is a Windsor signature piece. WRDW, WAGT has a partnership with Windsor Jewelers, and they provide monthly a nice signature piece. Thank you, Mr. Bill Lawson, for working that out for us. And we have this beautiful signature piece that's going to someone today. And we are choosing the last person that arrived today to get this piece, and that will be Ms. Jessica Jones. So being delayed worked out today, huh? That's all right. So there's your babysitter. Congratulations. And we'll get a picture with that later. So happy Father's Day for somebody, right? So thank you all for coming today. Thank you, SRP Credit Union, our presenting sponsor, and all of our series sponsors. So we're going to go ahead and break. If you have any questions for our leaders, thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
And you all have a great weekend and a great summer, and we'll see you in August.
Thank you.
Hi, Al.
There you go.